Hello, 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 and welcome to another powerful episode of Exhale into Life with Regina. When Regina speaks, everybody listen. I am your host, Regina Hall, and I have a special guest with me, Portia Lockett. We're going to be talking about grief and its impact and her upcoming events. I am so excited about us being able to have this conversation today. So I want us to be able to reflect, to relax, and really get into the discussion. You can go on to my Facebook page, Regina C. Hall. You can go there. You can also go to WJZZ Cool TV, the greatest station in the world, the coolest station in the world. So you can go there as well. I just really appreciate you being with us today. And we are excited at the same time, knowing that a lot of us are carrying a lot of burdens. And we hope that at this point in time, that we will be able to, from 4 to 5, to lift some burdens, hopefully to heal some hearts and you all can gain greater increase of understanding and love. How about that? And so this is Mental Health Month. And so, Portia, I did pull some things up to really talk about mental health and grief. Um, and so I just wanted to, you even mention about speaking at a Mother's Day event for those who have lost their children to gun violence. And I remember being at one of your events where you also focused on the fact that, there are many ways that people are grieving. So I want you to tell the audience about your upcoming event and let us talk about the hardship of what the mothers must be dealing with and how that's a part of your story as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Regina. And I am, as always, honored to be on your show and
I
just
love
being in
it.
your presence. So on May 17th, Saturday, May 17th at Wayne County Community College Northwest Campus, we're going to be hosting Permission Today. And
Yes.
Permission Today has several components: permission to grieve. There are people that are grieving on so many levels from so many different
Yes.
things, from losing a loved one. And right now we're talking about, people who are motherless, right? And
Mm.
there may be some individual who has lost a father, individuals who have lost sight, lost hope,
Yes.
lost hair. You think about all the things that people grieve about. People are going through anticipatory grief, knowing that it's the end of life for an individual, but it hasn't happened yet. For example, someone who may have dementia, they're no
Yes.
longer in that space where they're able to communicate like they desire to, and the end of life is coming. So that's one form of grief. You may be grieving the fact that you have lost, lost out on a relationship, or that person has transitioned, or you discovered you were two people that were no longer good together, or being in a toxic relationship, based on what we've all experienced over the last few years of dealing with COVID. There's so many people who are grieving of the
Yes.
uncertainty of what's going on in the world. When we talk
Yes.
about, our spending habits and all the increases that are taking place now due to the tariffs that are being put in place. So
Yes.
there's so many levels and different components of grief. So we want people to come and discover that you do have permission to grieve. And then there's another component: permission to heal. And what does that
Mm-hmm.
look like? Your grief is different than my grief, and my grief may be different than someone else's grief. But how do we begin the healing journey? First of all, we have to acknowledge that we have to deal with it. We have to feel it in order to begin
Mm-hmm.
the healing journey. And
Yes.
healing, when I say journey, it means it's a long term. It's an ongoing. It's never like a final destination. Like one day you're gonna wake up and just say, "Oh, I'm done.
No,
I'm
I'm
healed."
done. Yeah,
No,
right.
it's ongoing.
Right.
You learn to
Right.
persevere. You learn to move through it. You learn to accept it and
Yes.
acknowledge it, and just move through the days that are yet to come or that you're experiencing right now. And so you may need therapy. You may need to be in a group. You need to maybe have an accountability partner, putting mechanisms in place to be able to help you to be able to move. in
Yes.
your healing journey. Then we're going to come in with permission to live and laugh, because we know that the laughter is so good for the soul. Laughter is the best medicine. When you think about laughter, you utilize all of your muscles. You're shaking your whole entire body if
Yes.
you're getting a really good laugh in. So we're
Yes.
going to have comedians that are going to be there, and we're excited about that. And then we come back with permission to love again. That's the fourth component. And what I mean by permission to love again, sometimes when we lose a loved one,
Hmm.
a significant other, husband, wife, whoever that individual may be in your life, and you think, I'll never be able to move forward. What am I going to do without this person? Well, you're giving yourself permission to fall in love again. And if you choose to, go back to that same space, you have permission to be able to do that. A lot of
Yes.
times when people are grieving, a lot of times they lose themselves. They have experienced the loss of myself. Who am I? And rediscovering yourself. If you've been a
Yes.
mother, if you've been a father, if you've been someone's girlfriend, somebody's
Yes.
parent, you have all these things that you were labeled as, and you're no longer that person who's the caregiver, the nurturer, because everybody is now gone. And you have to rediscover yourself. You have
Yes.
permission to rediscover and redefine and redefine what love means, to have self-love, right?
That's wonderful
Mhm.
because I took a training today,
Okay.
and he said that identity is not static.
Yes.
And I love what you're saying
Hmm.
because we are redefining our lives. We're
Yes.
changing every day.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, rediscovering who you are, because we change.
We
We're
change.
no longer our mother's daughters. And
Yes.
sometimes we get to the point where we're no longer the mother that we think we are or desire to be to our children, because they're
Hmm.
grown and they're moving on, right?
Yes.
And so then
Yes.
we come back with permission to move forward. What does that look like as we move forward? You take a look at your journey and where it was and now where you're now. What does it look like in order for us to move forward and to plan ahead? So we're going to have individuals there talking about, planning ahead. If something should happen to us, if we should be admitted into the hospital, what things are we putting into place to make sure that we have that right person advocating for us?
Hmm.
If something should happen and I should transition for a moment, do I want to be resuscitated? Do I have the five wishes? Do I have all those things in place, right?
Yes.
Do I have my life insurance policy in place,
Hmm.
so if someone has to make those decisions or make those arrangements for me? Do I have my will and my estate planning in place, right? There's so many different things that sometimes, specifically as African Americans, don't put into place.
That's
And so
true.
we want to make sure that we have all those various components, in place. We're going to have a medical doctor coming in and talking about those things that you need to take into consideration as you're planning ahead. Are you getting all of your doctor's appointments in place and on time? And what do you really want? And making sure that as you're planning ahead,
Hmm.
those who you have in place to support you are readily available. They have all the information that is needed in order to acknowledge and to support you on your wishes. And then we're going to end up with permission to celebrate. How do we celebrate our accomplishments? What does that look like when we can celebrate, as opposed to being in that
Yes.
same dark hole, that depressed hole, that the hole of uncertainty, the space of I'm grieving and I can't move forward. I had someone call me up earlier today and just said, you know what, men don't typically grieve, right? And so
Hmm.
he talked about that he just can't move forward, how he had to stop, ministering for a minute because he couldn't
Hmm.
get over the fact that he had lost his grandmother and his mother, who were his support for folks. There's his
Wow.
support persons. And how do I move forward? How can I get to that next level? And so with him, and we just talked it out, he said, you know what, just with the little information you gave me today, I'm so excited about coming to the event. And I feel like
Yes.
I can celebrate in advance, knowing that I'm going to get the help and the support that we need.
I think that is so important. I want to read your bio,
Okay.
and thank you for giving
Yes,
the details for the event,
absolutely.
because this is Mental Health Month. And when I first learned about permission today and the various components or series of that, at first they were individual, but now I
Yes,
see you brought them all together.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I was like, that is so wonderful because people need permission. In America, we are not given permission. It's like you bury the person, the next day people expect you to go on with your life, move on, oh, that's really so
Mhm.
sorry that happened,
Yeah.
and then don't really talk about it anymore.
Right. There's a lot of systematic changes that need to take place when you talk about grief.
Yes.
Most organizations will give you 3 to 5 days off from your job.
Yes.
And during that first 3 to 5 days, that's when you're doing your planning. We're not talking about after the
We're
fact when
not talking
everything
about,
sets in and you
oh,
may have to do some moving or rearranging some things, moving things to a storage or selling the state or going to court
so
oh,
true.
there's so many different layers of moving through this journey. And so that needs to be
Yes.
reconsidered. I don't know who established that law, but people need a longer period of time in order to grieve properly.
I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to read your
Yes. Okay.
bio, but I'm so happy you brought that up because I
Yes.
have a story with that one.
Mhm.
Dr. Portia Lockett is a Detroit based spiritual advisor, chaplain, grief recovery specialist, and inspirational speaker. She is also the founder and CEO of the Azelle Bennett.
Benet.
Yes, Benay Lockett, ABL Foundation, established in memory of her son, Azelle Benay Lockett, who tragically passed away in December 2020. The ABL Foundation is dedicated to supporting individuals and families navigating grief and trauma. Its mission is to provide quality and effective coordination of services, including counseling referrals, which I am a counselor for the foundation, and economic resources and training. To those experiencing loss and trauma, the foundation exists to help people heal, offer hope, and hold hearts during the grief journey. Dr. Locke's work through the ABL Foundation has been recognized in the Detroit community. In 2024, she received the Community Enrichment Hero Award from the Torch of Wisdom Foundation, Kennett Hero Award, and James H. Cole Funeral Home, honoring her contributions to community healing and empowerment. Um, thank you so much. This is really powerful, and to know that you believe that and feel that it is a privilege that God is using you for such a time like this, and it has come out of your own hurt and broken heart. And now you're touching and healing other hearts. And honestly, Portia, it doesn't even feel like it's been 5 years. I know it's like time just
Yesterday.
can. It was
Yeah.
yesterday.
I said it feels
Feels
as
like
if it was
yesterday.
just yesterday. And I
Yeah.
guess for me, because I call out his name every day.
Okay.
People often hear me say, as long as the blood runs through my veins,
Yes.
and I continue to call out my baby's name, Azel Benet Lockett, his spirit will remain alive. And
Yes.
that's something that I didn't create myself. This is like an African proverb that's been around for years. And so as long as we continue to call out our loved ones' names and the blood is
Yes.
running through your veins, continue to call out their names so their spirits can stay alive.
Yes, yes. So getting back to that 3 to 5 days, I remember I was on a job, and I went to my manager at the time and I said, you know, we're preparing for my dad transition, and I'm going to request 2 to 3 weeks off. And she said, how do you know you're going to need that? I said, because it's my dad. It's just as simple as that. I can't imagine walking back over here 3 to 5 days. I can't. I need I need it. And she hemmed and hummed for a long time
Mm.
and finally said that she would allow me to have the time. That request seemed abnormal to her. And I'm sure it did. Just in the society that we live in, most people just take that 3 to 5. But I was in touch enough to know that I needed more time than that. And really, I needed really more time than that. And I remember talking to an insurance agent, life insurance, and he said to me, you know, I see a lot of people don't take out enough life insurance to grieve. And so they try to go back to work and they can't go back to work, but they haven't left enough life insurance. He said, Regina, if I can say anything to you, I know, God forbid anything happen to your loved ones, but you need enough life insurance to grieve. You want to comment on that?
I truly believe that. I think that, as we're playing, for our future, we want to leave something behind, for our, as a legacy
Mm-hmm.
financially,
Yes.
and unfortunately, there are so many people who don't have the bandwidth financially to be able to do that because they're trying to live from day to day. And
Yes.
so they don't have the monies to be able to put aside for $25 or $50 a month. Some people just don't have it. And so, if you can, it would be a beautiful thing for you to
Yes.
be able to put some things in place so that when it's that time, your loved ones don't have to scramble. They don't have to, exhaust their own financial bank
Yes.
accounts to be able to do the things that needs to be done in order to take care of themselves if they need additional time. For me personally, I remember my mother was so organized that she had everything in place. So when it came time, we knew exactly what to do. She had
Yes.
several policies. She had me pretty much, on her bank account, so I had access, as opposed to waiting to the last minute and no one has access. And if there's several children, then you have to go to court to figure out
Yes.
who's going to be that person that is responsible, the overseer, the advocate, of the financial piece. And sometimes it just causes a delay in the
Yes.
process for one thing,
Yes.
and then also it causes conflict between your loved ones if you don't have your stuff together. And I know sometimes we just don't know when it's going to happen, but I know as of lately I have been experiencing and seeing firsthand that there are a lot of suddenly deaths that are taking
Yes.
place. Not 70-year-olds, not 80-year-olds dying, but
Mhm.
we're talking about 35 to 40, 45, 50-year-olds that are just dying because they've never been diagnosed with anything or the doctors didn't catch it. There's so many different components.
It is.
People getting murdered. We've experienced over the last few weeks of houses exploding. Burn. Houses being burned up.
Yes.
Planes falling from. All sorts of things.
All sorts of things.
Boats tipping over. So many different things that are not the norm over the last few months. And I'm
Wow.
not sure where all this is coming from, but we need to just, if we can, prepare ourselves so that our loved ones don't have to suffer through that layer of their grief of being concerned
That's
financially.
really true because when you say you really preparing yourself for life,
Yes.
you're the life of those who are left behind to
Mm-hmm.
deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right about that. And I know, as of late, I've been working on trying to get it together, but yeah, I have taken too long to do it. I'll
Mm-hmm.
pick it up, I put it down, I pick it up, I put it down. There are things that we do have in order, but there are some things that I still need to get in order. I'm like, Regina, pick it up,
Yeah.
stop putting it down,
Mm-hmm.
and just pick it up. And so, what would you say to those who are struggling like me? You're starting it, you're facing it. Like I'm striving to even write my obituary, to make sure because I only have one child. To make sure if I go before she does that, I have already prepared these things and put things in order for she won't have to worry about those type of
Yeah.
things. But I picked it up, I put it down, I picked it up, I put it down.
And you know what? I'm so happy that you said that because part of the one of the segments, planning ahead, is we're going to have a representative from James H. Cole Funeral Home talking about that. What do you want? What do you want your service to look? Do you want a funeral? Do you want a cremation service? Do you want a memorial service? What do you want in your obituary? What do you not want?
Yes,
So that planning part is so
it's
important
so
because you
important.
know what? Sometimes people don't have the discussion about what took place, and so you have people trying to come together and say, where did they go to school? When did they
Hmm.
graduate? Now we have 6 kids here. Do they all have the same mother? They have the same father? Trying to figure out. So you write your own
Yeah,
biography now,
yeah,
so it's
that's
easy to
yes,
transition into a obituary.
yes,
Or to your
yes,
what's going to be put into your for your spoken at your eulogy. And
yes.
so I think it's very important for you to be able to do that.
I do.
That's we're going to
Yes,
have that, and then as I stated before, we're going to have someone from New York Life talking about the importance of having a life insurance policy in place for
yes,
not only you as an adult, but for your children. I have a life insurance policy for my 3.5-year-old granddaughter. And if
yes,
fortunately, I'm believing in God that she'll live a long life. And if she chooses at a later point, she can take those funds and apply it towards her education.
yes, yes,
And so that's so important. There's so many different things, but it's important to be able to sit down with an expert in this area so you see where your options are.
yes,
And so that's
yes.
part of planning ahead.
It is. And even, some of the things that I did was just go to Google
Hmm.
and Google some of these things. And I think in America, I even tried to get some research on it, is that it hasn't been normalized enough, um, that we are going to leave here.
Hmm.
And like you said, how do we have these things in place? How do we talk about these things?
Hmm.
Most of the time, people don't want to talk about it. I'm not dead yet, so you hear those type of things. But like you said, it could be sudden. You could outlive everybody. But the truth of the matter is, you have to put something in place. So, and I think what about trust? You gonna have anyone talking about?
Yes, wills and trust.
Okay, all right.
Absolutely.
I
Dr.
did. I heard you said
Attorney
wills. Okay.
Attorney Pamela Mack will be there talking about estates and wills. And
Yes.
so when we talk about planning ahead, we're not leaving out anything. We are so excited because this is a new component, to it. And we want to make sure that our people are ready and prepared. And that's a part of the program, educating individuals so that we can move forward in our journey in peace.
Yes. In peace.
In peace.
Yes. 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 So, would you even say, Dr. Lockett, that um, if you're not prepared, then you talk about moving forward in peace. If you're not prepared, you are messing up your peace. You are disturbing your life. And I like what you said too, because if you don't have it in order, there's conflict within the families. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I won't. I don't want to say specifically that you're not going to have peace yourself, right?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
some people are just not in that spaceship where they can do it. But just think about the fact as you move forward yourself. What do you want? How can I say this the right way? What do you want? I guess that's the question. What do you want? How do you want things to be handled for you? And there are some people who just say, you know
Mhm.
what, y'all figure it out. I
Yes.
don't care, and that's their piece. And on the other hand, there are individuals who say, I just need someone to tell me what to do. I need to be educated. So we do better when we know better,
That's true
you
right
know?
there.
And
Yes.
so, like you said, there are some people who don't want to have the conversation. They don't want to have it at work. They don't want to go to their EAP reps and, talk about their different options or human resources to find out in the event, should I pass, how does my family member get access to my 401k plan or my
Hmm.
insurance policy that I have through my job. So if you don't have all that stuff laid out, if you don't have it somewhere where someone can actually put their hands on it, it's not going to do you any good because you may know about it, but nowadays it takes a long time to be able to go to the court system to be able to get that far. And you don't want to have to put anybody through that. And when you have several people, let's just say it's a mother, who has, 6 or 7 children, and you have designated one person to be able to do everything, but if you don't give that person the information and access, they can't do anything.
Yes, that's so true. Well, can you talk a little bit about like making sure that you have all your passwords and everything? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's huge.
Oh yeah. So, I think it's important, if you have a smartphone, and I do believe Android, I've never had Android, but I'm just
Me
going to make an
either.
assumption here.
Okay.
With a smartphone, there are ways where you can save your backups to your passwords. So when I go on and I show my face, and most people do this now, your facial ID, you can get
Yes.
access without even punching in your passwords. But I would say that there should be some place and some one or two people that you can truly trust, where you can give access to your passwords if needed. I think that's really important because you may be
Yes.
hospitalized and you may need to pay your bills. You got the money, but nobody can get into your accounts to pay your bills for you. They can't pay your rent, they can't pay your credit cards, they can't pay your light bill, gas bill, all those different things that you would normally have to have a password for. Because a lot of times people don't have that paper anymore coming to the house to show you what your bill is.
Mm-hmm.
I try to go billless, paperless, I should say. Now I hardly have any of my bills coming to my home. Everything is
Right.
online.
Yes, everything is online.
So
Can go
that's
right
that's
there.
very important to be able to do that
Yes, I
and
come.
change them often too. I always say try to have at least one, two, or three. I'd say three different passwords that you can maneuver through all of your different documents or your credit cards or any items that you may have access to online, and change them often because people are getting hacked all the time.
All the
Last year,
time.
my Instagram page got hacked, and it just took me forever trying to get it back. And to this day, I don't have it. And
Is
it
that
took me a
right?
minute to get back my Facebook page. And so I'm going to have to start all over and change it all over again
Oh,
because people
wow.
just get off on just making other people's lives miserable.
That is so true. Wow, I'm really sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
That is really tough.
Mhm.
Well, so the permission, um, do you have a permission to let go? I know you had that, right? Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Mhm.
Okay.
That we're gonna talk about. You have to come.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we're
All
gonna
right.
have a segment. It's not labeled, but there's gonna be a piece in there where we can have permission to release.
Okay, okay. And I
Yes.
remember us
Yes.
release. We're going to South Carolina. I hope to be here, and so
Mhm.
we are not going to be able to be here. But I am a supporter of your
Yes.
events. They are so spirit filled, and it just helped us to increase our knowledge and
Mhm.
understanding from something that was so painful
Mhm. Mhm.
for you to go through, and for you to provide us the space where we can heal in these various areas, and to know that you want to spiritually and mentally guide us through these various episodes that we're going to go through in our lives,
Hmm.
because everybody's going to lose someone
At some point in
at
time.
some point in
Yeah,
time.
yeah. But again, it's not just about the loss of a loved one. So we're going to have someone there giving their testimony about, attempting suicide
Yes.
and the type of lifestyle that that person is leading right now, and has written a book about it. And so
Okay.
I'm excited about that. We're going to have someone that's going to talk about the fact that they were in a space of being obese and learning to redefine and
Yes.
learning to love herself again enough to lose weight. And now she's teaching and started a business and helping other people. So it's not just the loss of a loved one,
That which is
there's
true.
loss of so many different things. And so when you
Right.
come, you're going to be you're going to be so blessed. We're going to have a young man talking about being diagnosed with a chronic illness. A lot of times we hear women talking about breast cancer, but for a
Yes.
brother to give his testimony about how God has allowed him to live a life full of bliss, even though he's experienced different types of cancer throughout his life. So,
I think that's really
mhm,
awesome, because I do see on here that you deal with trauma as well. And
yes.
so tell me about helping others to deal with trauma.
Yeah. So again, just like yourself, we have therapists that specialize in different layers of grief or different types of therapy. So we do have, people who are going to be talking about traumatic experiences and how do you maneuver through those traumatic episodes.
Okay.
And different people deal with depending on what the trauma is. You know, we want to make sure that we partner that individual up with the right therapist at the right time. Because you like yourself, you have been blessed to be I would just say, in a space where you can help people on different levels. So your areas of expertise have been trauma, right?
Yes. Yes.
Family dynamics, the whole
Yes.
night dealing with depression,
Yes.
anxiety,
Anxiety. Yes.
loss, but then there may be somebody else, who's going to be there who just specialize in that trauma space. I am not a trauma expert. I had experienced trauma in my life, and
Yes.
I can talk to what has helped me in my life,
Which
just
is
in
really
terms.
important too.
Absolutely. And sometimes people
Yes.
don't even know that they've had traumatic experiences. There's
Right
so many
there.
right there. That's
Yeah.
it right there. And here's the deal. Here's the deal. So we respond to a lot of things that took place in our childhood that were never addressed,
Yes.
right? And so as we grow up into adulthood and we're acting out in certain ways because of the things that we experienced in our childhood was never dealt with.
Yes.
Years ago, people were told, you'll get over it. Just go pray about it. We're gonna lay hands on you, throw a little anointing oil on you, little holy oil, and everything's gonna be all right. Let's just move
Yes.
forward. And you're not the only one that experienced X,
Oh
Y,
my
and Z.
God.
You're not, and so, but now, we have help. God has blessed us with
Yes.
resources. And
That's
that's what
right.
we'd love to be able to do. So if
Yes.
someone should call the foundation, even after the permission today is over with, someone calls the Azel B'nai Laka
Hmm.
Foundation and says, I need therapy. Then we
Yes.
take a look after the assessment and just decide which type of therapist that they need. And we always give a referral of, let's just say, 2 to 3, because sometimes, just like you're interviewing for a job, we want to make sure that you
Which is so
interview
true.
your therapist to make sure that you have the person that you can bond with, that you can trust, and you feel comfortable with, just allowing yourself just to be free and talking about whatever issues you may be experiencing. And if you don't have insurance, then the foundation will underwrite the cost up to 8 sessions, sometimes
Yes.
10 sessions, for you to be able to get the support that you need. If someone does not have, let's just say a lot of money saved up, and they're dealing with a chronic illness. And so the foundation will pay up to $500 to help someone with their bills.
That's
If
awesome.
someone doesn't have a life insurance policy, then we will help to underwrite the cost up to $500 to make a donation to on their behalf to the funeral home or to the cremation services that they're going to be
That is
utilizing.
really awesome,
Hmm.
because, like you said, um, we don't always know that we're dealing with trauma, and
Hmm.
it's incomplete. We
Yes.
haven't really dealt with it.
Hmm.
We haven't. Sometimes we haven't even spoken on it anymore.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
what has happened is that even though it's suppressed, it's playing out.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's playing out in
Absolutely.
our
Hmm.
thoughts, in
Hmm.
our relationships. A lot of people base their future on what happened in their past.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So we need to reverse that. Your
Yes.
past does not dictate your future.
And I constantly say that. And what I
Yes.
love about what you said about therapists and there needs to be some education on that as well.
Mhm.
There are various different type of therapists that are out
Mhm.
there, and that therapist you go through may not fit you. At the same time, though, people have a what I call uh, they already have a
Misconception.
preconception,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
what a therapist is going to do
Mhm.
because they get it from television. And so they see a therapist as I'm going to go in and I'm going to lay back and I'm going to tell them all my problems and tell them what I'm going through, and then they're going to give me advice. That's not therapy. That is not therapy. And then I just even want to go to the Bible. The Bible asks the man at the well, do you want to be healed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And sometimes people come in and they think they're ready to be healed or they want to deal with it. But when you say you're going to have to do the work in order for you to get to the place, just like you said, how do you want your life to look? How do
Mhm.
you want your funeral to look? It's the same thing.
Mhm.
How do you want your life to look moving forward?
Mhm. Mhm.
How do you imagine your life looking? And sometimes they're not ready to move. And so they're coming to me and I say, well, you have to participate in your healing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And then you know what?
Mhm.
I don't hear from them no more.
But it's just like going to a medical doctor. When you go to the medical doctor, the doctor can't give you a prescription or give you a diagnosis without you having a conversation,
That's it.
right? And so it's the same thing, with
It's
therapy. You have to participate in your healing
in your
journey. We
healing.
have to have some discussions, and talking about your past. When you go to the doctor's office, first thing they do is they give you a form to fill out, and they want to know the background history of your mother, your father. If there's anybody in
That's
your
right.
in your family that had heart issues, if they
Yes.
had strokes, and they ask you all these questions. Do you having trouble sleeping? Are you having changing in your appetite? All these different questions. So it's the same thing. With therapy, there needs to be a dialogue so that you can receive the help that you desire to have or you need.
And that's a good way to put that
Hmm.
because we do go to the doctor, but a lot of times we put our trust in the doctors without having questions too.
Yeah. Hmm.
And and we put our lives in so many people's hands and we're not asking questions. And that's even with getting married. I hear
Hmm.
people tell me, I didn't ask any of those questions. I didn't know how he or she handled the money. I didn't know how they what they value. I really didn't know. I wait a minute. I didn't even know if they believed in God or
Yeah. You
not.
got to ask those questions. You got to have premarital counseling. It's
Yes,
so important,
it's so
because,
important.
things come out that you didn't even know. You're just so caught up in the relationship and I'm in love. But, okay, okay, this one day you may wake up and just say, love, like I thought it was going to be, like I love imagined, it doesn't exist. But do we
Yes,
want to work through this thing? Do we have mutual respect that we're going to work through the issues that we have? And sometimes they arise. Most of the time they do. Sometimes they're larger than we anticipated, and some things are
yes.
not.
I love that because that is also a part of grief.
Hmm.
Letting go of things we thought the way life was going to be. A
Yes.
lot of us are stuck in what we thought life was going to be, and we haven't grieved it. We haven't let it
Mhm,
go.
mhm,
Even when you talk about loss, people are losing maybe what they were able to do when they were younger.
mhm.
They're not able to do
That's it.
anymore.
Loss of mobility.
Yes,
I used to be able to run up and down the stairs. Now everything has to be on one level. I need to move. So because I'm not able to do the things,
yes,
we talk about mobility, losing the sight. I
yes.
can't drive anymore because, my sight is starting to fade a little bit. My memory is starting to fade a little bit. So I can't go anywhere by myself. And so all these different reasons why people can grieve.
Why people can grieve,
And then
even
on
the
the
loss of a best
Yeah,
friend or
and then on the other side, you have people who are grieving because they're the caregivers. I didn't
yes,
sign up for this, but now I'm stuck caring for this person that I
exactly.
thought was going to be healthy for the rest of their lives, but now I have to put my life on hold, or caring for a parent, and that's a
Yes,
different layer of grief, when you have to stop your life and you want to move forward and have a good time, and all of a sudden somebody's got to do this and you're it.
Yes. Even just let me talk about that for a second
Mhm.
because, you have all these transitions that you go through in life, and you have these changes that you are going to go through in life.
Mhm.
Um, you retire, right? You think that you're going to travel with your mate or do these various things that you guys have talked about down through the years,
Yes, yes.
and your health begin to fail you.
Mhm.
You can't fly, you can't go anywhere.
Mhm.
You're going to have to grieve that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
what would be some of the recommendations that you would make in terms of going through the grief process and understanding that we all are going to be grieving on some level?
Mhm. Well, let's pause that for 1 second because I want to make something real clear too.
Okay.
Because there are reasons to have good grief,
Okay.
right?
All right.
Good grief could come from the uncertainty of what being a parent is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a new child, you're happy about this giving
Mm-hmm.
birth to a new child, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I'm grieving because I'm losing my sleep or
Yes.
my lifestyle has changed because now I
Mm-hmm.
have children. So that's some good stuff, right?
Yes.
But when we go back to just thinking about, the loss of all these things or just transitioning, we just want to make sure that people are getting the support that they need
Okay.
and being open enough to tell somebody I'm having some issues, being open to that accountability partner, talking to your family and just says, you know what, I know I look like I got it together, but I don't, and I need help, and I need your support in helping me to find some support that I need. Maybe you're not that person, but maybe you can help me find that person. I get people who call me all the time that says, do you know anybody that I can talk to about, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
having this issue and I'm nervous and I'm afraid. And that's part of the intake process of
Yes.
making sure that we partner them up with the right person.
Now,
And
how
maybe they don't
people?
go. I'm going. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, and maybe it is. Maybe it's not that you need a therapist. Maybe it's you going through something as simple as uh, getting out there and exercising.
Mm-hmm.
Exercise is
Exactly.
so good for the brain and so good for the
Yes.
body. But for
Yes.
whatever reason, you haven't made time. And when you start exercising and then also
Yes.
changing your diet, you could see um, mm, an abundance of change in your lifestyle and in yourself if you
Yes.
started eating things that are good. For example, if you're eating blueberries and blackberries,
Mm-hmm.
things that are shaped like our body parts, avocados, for your ovaries, having issues with it. So you think about all the things that God made
Yes.
in the Garden of Eden and what the sole purpose of those items were for,
Yes.
and start eating
Eating
correctly, eating
correctly.
better.
You
And
know something? I totally agree with that. Um, I wasn't eating. I'm a person that loves to eat healthy,
mhm,
and I was getting really away from it, and I saw myself gaining weight, and
mm,
I hate gaining weight. I absolutely hate it. And once I see myself gaining it, I don't like it, and
mhm,
I'll start um, because I don't like to cook either.
mhm,
So then I'll say, Regina, you know what? Go back to Weight Watchers
mhm,
because it has a structure. I need the structure to help me to eat right. And
mhm,
and and so I'm putting the items in the refrigerator.
mhm,
I'm making sure that I'm prepping. These are things that I won't do if I don't have some type of structure in place because I was of that liberation movement.
mhm,
And so when my mom was like, Regina, come in the kitchen, I was like, I ain't getting in your kitchen, Mom. I don't want to know your kitchen.
right, right.
We women are free. I don't
Mhm,
know why you keep doing this for dad. I'll clean your house though. And I can clean a house. I can organize it. I can do anything. So my mom got accustomed to me doing that. And my brother actually is the cook because
mhm,
he would sit in the kitchen and watch my mom cook. And
nice.
he's the one that has walked away with all the recipes and just
Mm,
knowing how she did various things. And I'm like, now I say, dang it, I wish I had because I taste someone dressing today, and I
mm,
was like, not my mom's dressing.
wish I had that recipe.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly. So
yes.
right, so you're right. It does make a
Mhm.
difference.
And doing more so of what you enjoy. Just
Yes.
really sitting down and say, what brings me joy? Because there's so
Mm,
many people in the world that don't have joy. But so you have to say, okay, let me sit down and check my joy tank. How do I
Yes.
get it on full again? Because right now it's on empty. And so this is
Hmm.
the reason why I'm acting this way is because I have no joy in
I
my
love
life.
that.
What brings me joy in doing the things that you love more so than doing the things that don't bring you joy or
Don't
those
bring you
things you
joy.
don't like,
Yes.
and being around people who bring you joy. And sometimes part of grieving is coming to a point in your life where you say to yourself, honestly, this relationship, this situation no longer serves me. So
Mm.
I'm gonna have to let it go. And the
Yes.
process of just saying let it go, it's okay to
It's
let
okay.
go.
Yes. Even though I know some people say, it's so difficult. I don't really know. What does it mean to let go? When people tell me to let go, just let it go. What does that mean just for me to let it go? I like what you said earlier. You may have to get an accountability partner. You may have to seek some therapy. You may have to get down on your knees and pray about it.
Yes.
But guess what? You're going to have to do something
Hmm.
to let it go.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Put yourself first.
Yes.
Put yourself first because so many times we put other people
Well,
ahead
God
of
wouldn't
us.
want us to put ourselves first.
Well, after God, I mean,
No, no,
after.
no. I was teasing because people
Oh, oh,
say
yeah, yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I,
right?
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah,
but
people say that.
yeah,
So I was just giving you permission to
yeah,
like tell us about that,
yeah.
putting yourself first.
Putting
Because
yourself first.
yeah, yeah.
You
What
don't.
does that look like for us? For
Well,
you, what does it look like for
what
you?
does it look like for me is doing the things I said, and bring me joy. When I wake up in the morning, I start off every day with prayer and with thanks, giving God praise, giving God just going into this space of being thankful and grateful for what He's already done. The fact that I just woke up is something to be thankful for,
Yes,
because someone didn't make it past
someone
11:59
didn't.
last night, but I did. When I take a
Mm,
look at the work that I do, and as you know, I work into a hospital setting, and sometimes
yes.
when people say, I don't have anything going on in my life, I can't find anything to be grateful for, I say, come take a walk with me.
Amen.
Take a walk with me for a minute, and I want to show you what's going on in this room. There's someone here on a heart monitor. There's someone over here that's on a ventilator. There's someone over here that's in the burn unit. And so I start pointing out all these different ailments that people are experiencing just in a hospital setting.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's go outside of the hospital. Let's go over here and look at this house. This house is falling apart, but someone's living in it. Someone's
Mm-hmm.
driving that car, and they shouldn't be driving the car because the rear view mirror
Come
was
on
off on
now.
this side,
Yes,
but they're still driving.
they
Looks like it's
still
just going to fall.
driving.
So when you look at your life, what are you thankful for? What are you grateful for? And I heard a minister say not too long ago, and I've really and processed. I had to process this for a minute. It says take a piece, real simple. Take a piece of paper, and on the left hand side, write down all the things that you are grateful for, and
Yes.
on the right hand side, write down all the people you are grateful for. And when you start going through this process, you'll realize that you have so much more to be grateful and thankful for, as opposed to complaining about the things that you're not grateful for, all the things that are wrong, as opposed to focusing on all the right things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're right about that because on the average, we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Out of those thousands of thoughts, 85% of them are negative and 95% of them are repetitive. Play it again, Sam. And so making that grateful list
Mm-hmm.
on a daily basis. And God had me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I couldn't at first.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you some advice here. Be thankful for the green leaves that are falling off the tree. Be grateful for the grass, the green grass. Be grateful for the door that you're able to walk out of. Be grateful for the knob you're able to turn. I had to do those little things.
Yes,
And
yes.
then it got big.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started getting grateful for the sun, for the
Mm-hmm.
moon, for God waking me up, for
Yes.
knowing that my life is not
Mm-hmm.
cursed. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I just started, and then I grew from there.
Yes.
But I had to start somewhere, and I
Little
didn't
small
know
things.
how to start.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at the leaves, I
Yeah.
looked at the trees.
Yeah.
I just started thanking
Mm-hmm.
God for that.
Yeah. But even before you go outside, you wake up in the morning, you think about it. I'm blessed to have a bed to sleep in.
Yes.
I'm blessed to be able to have running water so I can go take a shower or a bath when I want to. I'm
Hmm.
blessed to be able to have a clean clothes to put on.
Yes.
I'm blessed to be able to have an urn to earn my clean clothes. I'm
Yes.
blessed to be able to have some things in my refrigerator and a few things in my cabinets. So when you start thinking just maybe 5 things a day,
5
and,
things a
and then the
day.
next week take it to 10 things, and the
Yes.
next week take it to 15 next. And the next thing you know, you're just in a habit of just writing down things. And then at the end of the day, I love doing this.
Yes.
A friend of mine gave me a gratitude jar,
Okay. Oh, yes.
and
Yes, yes,
you
yes,
know, it could be
yes.
the size of, let's just say, a mason jar,
Uh-huh.
right? And get your little some little sticky notes, and if you can, just take up. If you don't have sticky notes, just tear up some pieces of paper, and every day write down one thing that you're thankful for, and put it in the
Put it in
jar
a
before you
jar.
go to bed.
Yes.
And then on December the 31st of whatever year that you're in, empty out that mason jar
I
and
love
look at all
that.
the things that you were thankful for throughout this year.
Yes. My daughter made up a butterfly one.
Mm.
Put butterflies around it and
Hmm.
then start putting affirmations in her jar.
Yes. Amen.
Yeah. And
Beautiful.
so you're right. That
Hmm.
that is a
Hmm.
beautiful thing
Yeah.
to do. So we can. And one of the things about what we just said is a great technique
Hmm.
for depression,
Yes, it is.
because depression is about changing the way you think. If you can change the way you think, you can change the way you feel. So, changing the way you think, changing the way you feel, and then it's going to move your behavior. So, that's exactly what you want to do, because depression is about the past. Is you feeling sad or down or self pity for yourself because of the things that have happened. And some bad things have happened. No one's knocking that at all. But how do you come out of it? You got to change the way you think to move forward. So that is really true. So what would you say um, to those who want to get in touch with you, and
Hmm.
tell us your process, because we know that you
Yes,
shared some things that you do, but
absolutely.
share your process
Yeah.
with us.
If there's something that we can do through the Azel B'nai Lockett Foundation, you can go directly to our website, AZALBENELOCKETT Foundation, FOUNDATION.org. That's AzelB'nai Lockett Foundation.org. And then you can look at all the things that we're doing. And then there's a space for us to contact you. Or if you just want to email us, you can email us at info@azelb'nai Lockett Foundation.org. And you can just simply let us know, I need support, I need help, and this is what's going on. And then we'll take it from there. Somebody will respond to you within 48 hours.
That is wonderful. And tell us a little bit about your intake process. How long does it take?
Well, it depends. Every situation is different. Every
Okay.
situation is
Okay.
different. You'll have a response to us within 48 hours. If it's not a holiday, or weekend, let me just say 48 hours business days. Okay.
Okay, very good,
Yeah,
because the weekend you
because the weekend we want to make sure that everybody that we're supporting or is part of the foundation who's responsible for looking at the emails gets their break too, so that we can be our best, so we're not burnt out, right?
Amen.
Hmm.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
so once you respond and we send you back a letter, then we'll guide you in terms of what you need to do. Sometimes we send people a form for them to be able to fill out, and they
Okay.
send it back the next day, and we're able to
Okay.
move forward within a week. Sometimes it takes people, some time to respond
Yes.
to us. So depending on the response that we get back after we send you the form and the documentation that we ask for, in return, will determine the process. And every
Okay.
situation is different.
Well, that is very true.
Hmm.
Well, tell us real quick before we close out her exhale into life with Regina. Uh, what is one of the memories that you have since you have had this foundation that has just moved you to keep going?
My God, when people call us up, or people will email us and say, I'm so glad that I came to one of your events. Thank you so much for referring me to, let's just say, Regina Hall, because she was able to bless me. She heard me. She understood me and was able to guide me through my journey. So when we get the feedback, and the other thing is when you have people who show up no matter what you do, no matter when the event is. We've been doing this going on 3 years, and there have been some people who said, we'll never miss any one of your events. Because
Oh,
whenever we come, we always feel inclusive. We always feel blessed. We know you're going to always have something new and exciting.
that is so true.
Yeah.
I am a living witness.
Hmm.
I've attended two,
Okay.
and my husband and I came and had a wonderful time, and it was so healing. And then I was able to speak and had
Yes.
an awesome time.
Hmm.
And I mean, me saying awesome time is like, really, Regina, awesome time, but I really did.
Hmm.
I felt healing, and so you're not there feeling sad for yourself. You're
Hmm.
really not.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
may have some moments when you cheer up,
Yes.
because certain things may be said when you can just say, oh my God, that person heard me. They can relate. I felt that same thing. I went through that same thing. Oh my God, I'm not the only one. you know. But then when you start looking at the resources that we provide and the
Yes.
connections that you make, people always come and just says, met this person there, and discovered that we were friends. We went to school together. We discovered we were cousins, so we know some of the same
I had
people. Oh my God!
that.
And that just warms my heart when I can look into the audience or someone just comes up to me afterwards and just gives me a hug and just say thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having this, and then the vendors, that are there, and they say thank you so
Yes.
much because you exposed my business to some people that I would have never had an opportunity to serve,
Yes.
or people never have an opportunity to tell their stories, you know, or our mental health experts being exposed to different people as well. So we always have something new. We always have, things that are exciting. And I can't say this enough, but I'm so grateful and thankful for all of our volunteers. We have some
Yes.
volunteers that have been with us since day one. We have an amazing board of directors that guide us to keep us focused, to keep us on point, every step of the game. We have people who call us, and then we have our sponsors, people who have been with us since the very beginning and continue to be with us,
That's
to make it
awesome.
happen for us financially to be able to put on these type of programs. When you come to these events, it's only $25, two for 40. Where can you go and do that?
That's right.
You can't
That's
even go to
right.
Applebee's. I think, you can get a meal for two for $25, but I'm not sure what it's going to taste like at Applebee's.
Right,
But
right,
I'm
right,
not
right.
saying
Well, the
anything, but
food is
yeah,
great. I
the
have to
food is
admit, the food is awesome.
always
It is. I
delicious,
love your food.
but
You're right. It's
yeah.
all. It's going to be at Wayne Community College.
Wayne County Community College Northwest Campus. That's on Otter Drive in Southfield. And you can go to our website, azelbenelockettfoundation.org, and there's a tag there that will guide you right to the Eventbrite, or you can go directly to Eventbrite and punch in permission today, or even put in Azel Benet Lockett Foundation. It will come up and you go right there and buy your tickets.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. You have been watching Exhale into Life with Regina. When Regina speaks, everybody listens. Thank you so much for joining us. And I love the fact that we had our guest, Dr. Portia Lockett, who shared from her heart. I hope you guys would take out the time to go to the event at the Wayne County Community Center on May 17th. And remember, you can go to Azale Lockett.
Azel Benet Lockett
I'm sorry,
Foundation.org.
Azale Benet Lockett Foundation.org.
Yes.
Or you can go to info at
Yes.
Azale
As
Benet Lockett.org, right?
as info at Azel Benet Lockett Foundation
I keep
dot
forgetting the
org. That's
foundation.
okay. You can email us that way or go directly to our website. Either
Okay.
way.
All right. So
Yeah.
don't forget the foundation like
Yeah.
I did. But thank you so much for
And you can
being a
also
guest.
follow us on Facebook
That's
and on
true. Okay.
LinkedIn. Okay. So there's other ways you can just stay in contact with us. All
Yeah,
right.
so make sure you do that if you are needing someone to walk with, to get permission, to give permission. Please feel free to get in contact with Dr. Portia Lockett. And thanks so much for joining. You have been watching on live stream with WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Please don't forget to comment, share. What are the other ones? Comment, share,
And like.
and like. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining. Take care. I don't know. I always forget those. I'm like, Regina, they right in my head.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You did good.
So,
This was fun. Thank you
yeah,
so much,
I'm
Regina.
glad you were able to do
Yes, me
it.
too. Me
Yes,
too.
yes, yes,
Just
yes.
want to help people heal. So many people that
Exactly.
are just going through. So,
So many people are
hmm
going through.
hmm
So many. So
yes,
I'm
ma'am.
wait for them to come here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and little kids are going through,
hmm
adults are going through now with this deportation. Just so many people are going through, and so I'm glad that you have these services. You have widened your services, and you know what like You're right. It's not all about death. It's not. There's so many losses that people are experiencing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Amen. So, who are you going to have on your show next? Who's on next Friday?
So we going out of town.
Okay. So, you're going
Yeah,
to take a little hiatus. Okay.
yes, and then
hmm
the following week we are going to have Angelo Austin. He's going to come on and
Oh,
talk about
wow.
his business. Do you know
Okay.
Angelo Austin?
You know what? Not by name. and I'm terrible with names, but if I saw him and I'm like, oh yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. So
So
he's going to come on,
mm-hmm.
and then on the 30th, Linda Hannah is coming on. So
Mm.
she does this about hats
Oh
uh,
wow,
and
okay,
your personality. And so she's written a book. So she's going to come on and talk about that.
that should be
And
interesting.
Angelo has his own business. He does perfume, and now he has. I guess gone into like the social media realm,
Hmm.
trying to. I mean, well, he helps people in that area
Hmm.
in understanding, the services that are out there. And so having him on as well. And just getting back into it because, Michelle and I used to be together.
Yes.
And now she's still here. She
Hmm.
does it on Wednesdays, and I'm
Okay.
here on Fridays from 4 to
Wonderful.
5.
All right.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm
So
so happy for you all. The new space is just amazing.
it is. It's
I
really nice. And
absolutely love
Roger's
it.
doing a great job.
He is.
Yes, he
He is.
is. Even though he was unable to accept a compliment.
It's okay. It's okay. I could just tell the brother was a perfectionist
That's
and he
it.
wants everything to be perfect before he's able
He
to
does.
accept a compliment.
That's
It's just
right.
like when you tell a sister, I really
That's
like your
right.
hair. Oh, girl, I got to go get it done on Friday.
Right,
Let's just
right.
be in the moment. I love it. It's beautiful today.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
I love your
Or,
outfit. Oh, this whole thing.
oh, right, this old thing. Right, right,
Yes.
right,
Let's
right.
just be in a space where we can accept the blessing, accept the compliment,
That's it. That's
period.
that's it. That's
Okay.
it. One of the things I did want to say um, that we didn't get to mention is about when we diminish people's thoughts
Mm,
and their feelings. And I
yeah.
was so happy that you hit on that because when we group people into, girl, everybody going through that, or
Hmm.
you're not the only one, and
Hmm.
I've gone through that. But instead, that's something what I was teaching my students today, that sometimes we think we're saying something that compliments or encourage, but we're actually
Hmm.
hurting.
Yeah.
And the intent is not to hurt, is to try to uplift
Hmm.
or to try to make them not feel so bad about it. But people have to be where they are, and we have to meet them where they are.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's just okay not to say anything.
Well, see that right
Yeah.
there
Just being present is enough.
is
Just
enough.
showing up is enough without words. Because when
Yes,
at the end of the day, there's not a lot of words that can bring you comfort
that's exactly
at that
right.
moment. At the onset, there's really nothing that you can say.
Nothing.
And you hear people often saying things like, well, you lost a child, right? So, but when my mother died, well, there's no comparison to losing a child, to losing a mother.
Yes,
There's no comparison, to losing a husband and losing a
yes,
son. So there's
it's none. Right. There's none, and you're
different
right about
relationships you
that.
can't.
And
Yeah.
Dr.
Hmm.
Sampson, he really used to teach us
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
presence is power.
Yeah, it is.
Just sitting
Hmm.
in someone's presence,
Yeah.
not saying a word. And I'm gonna tell you something else not to do. When people need to cry,